I went to an English-speaking school there called Hokkaido International School. The only other whites I saw were missionaries and their kids. So I felt very in the minority. I was, those were the only white students I'd really met, and I wasn't sure how to relate to them. Looking back, today even, I realize how awkward I felt around them. Because I was used to being around Japanese, not white skinned folks. But yeah, my parents were missionaries, and I can't remember being asked, "Do you want to accept Jesus Christ into your heart as a personal Savior?" Because I was born into that kind of a household, you know. We're Christians. We pray before and after meals. We have devotions morning and evening. So I felt it was a natural thing for me to become a Christian. And I was confirmed in the Lutheran Church. Confirmation means that I could then drink wine at communion and have a little skinny wafer for the bread, and that was great.
Your parents were Lutheran missionaries, right?
Yeah, yeah. And one thing I remember about my confirmation, I'll never forget this. My dad wasn't really an obviously loving guy, even though he was a confirmed missionary, pastor. He'd been to college, seminary, special training to minister to the Japanese. He didn't know how to be personal with people. And the missionary, I still remember his name, Peter Meyer. He was questioning me about the catechism and the requirements for taking communion. And I so strongly felt God's love coming from this guy that I forgot about the answers. I just broke down and cried and cried. And that was the last I remember about that. I think I passed because I was able to take communion after that. But oh, I didn't know that was possible to have someone come across to me like that, you know, with such love and interest.
How old were
You
you?
know, oh, I was 13, 14. I don't know what the average age is here in the state for confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
But I just knew I wanted to drink that wine. So I was ready to do anything to get to drink it. And Dad always offered it, and
Hard.
you know, because he was pastor. And I was glad that I knew who I was getting my communion from, you know, being Dad.
So you grew up in Japan, like from a child. What did you do growing up as one of the only
Oh, we
white
went
people around?
skiing, and you know, during the wintertime, lots of snow in Sapporo. So we went skiing and tobogganing, and at nighttime, when I thought I could get away with it, you see, we had these Japanese students attending night school somewhere, and all through the night they'd be walking past our house, and our house had a driveway. Well, I would sneak out of the house, make some snowballs, and try to hit those guys with it as they walked by. I'd never do it today, but I did it back then. I thought it was ha 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 funny, you know. Oh, jeepers, yeah. And then we went to a beach called Yoichi, and we really enjoyed swimming there. It was beautiful. And one of my favorite pastimes there, when nobody was looking, was to find the jeeps and dig holes under the back tires. So when the missionaries came back, oh, I'm stuck. And I always loved to see them put it in four-wheel drive, so all four tires were spinning. Oh, I got such a charge out of that. I still do today. I love to watch those tires spinning. Yeah,
So how long were you in Japan?
about 16 years.
16.
And the thing I one of the things I regret about it is that when we left Hokkaido International School, I did not know that that was going to be the last time I would see that school, the teachers, or my fellow classmates at all in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Mom and Dad didn't gather us together and say, hey, listen, something serious is coming up. It's time for Dad to rotate back home. So we're going to leave. And I didn't realize this until after the fact, until after we got back to the States and were there for a while. And it dawned on me, I'm never going to see HIS again. All those classmates I had good times with, poof, they disappeared, to the four corners. Yeah, that was one thing I really regretted, was that I didn't have time to say goodbye.
Do you remember any of them?
Oh yeah, I remember about, offhand about 40 of them. Yeah, we had some Russian students in there. One Russian guy sat behind me in class. And every once in a while I'd go like that. And he told me, hey, I know what you're doing when you do that. I thought, oh no. But anyway, yeah, we had Russians, we had Japanese there. And I was proud of my ability to recall my classmates' names even now. But one thing I wish I had done so much was to find out about my teachers, Miss Seltzer, Miss Grace Martin. Where did they come from? How did they decide to come clear over here to Sapporo to teach? How did they know that they wanted to do that? I mean, do they have to take it back in case they change their minds? I didn't know, especially with Mr. Kemp. He seemed to be the best teacher there was in the whole school. And I often wonder that now. When he left HIS, he went to teach in Hawaii. And there he got cancer and passed away. And for some reason, I got a hold of him before he passed and just talked to him. Real nice, cordial conversation. He did not tell me he had cancer. But I'm just really glad I talked to him because I really respected the guy. I really did. And I found out that away from school, I could treat them like people. And I often kidded my sister, Betsy, saying, hey, I wonder why I never take Miss Martin or Miss Seltzer out, for just a friendly beer, a margarita, and kind of chew the fat. I wish I had done that, but I never had a chance to do that. I never got to know them real well, aside from the campus, and I really regret that. A lot of people would say right now, that's all in the past, don't worry. Yeah, I know, but that's one of the things that really sticks with me about my relationship with the teachers as a student. But anyway, my feelings for HIS are a lot more, what's the word, emotional. They're a lot more sentimental than I wish they would, than I wish they were. And I have a deep desire to contact each of them. I'm not going to do it, but just to see how they're doing now.
Did any of your siblings go to HIS with you?
Yeah, there were about 4 or 5 of us that went. And the school was about a 4-hour bus ride by Japanese public transportation. So we rode 2 buses from Kotoni, where we lived, to the center of Sapporo, and then 2 more buses from the center of Sapporo out to where HIS was. And for whatever reason, I am proud of having ridden all those buses way back then, and I wish I could get a, certificate or something honoring my faithfulness to going to school for all those years. But actually, the reason I say that is because it's so centered in my heart about all those trips to HIS, knowing at the same time that my dad and mom were trying to save the Japanese from hell. And I say that I'm trying to guard against being sarcastic because they had 6 of us, but they didn't want to raise all of us kids. So yours truly got the honor of raising their kids. Never again, never again. I have no kids. I'm not going to have any kids because of that experience. But I really have enjoyed my past life. The only thing I deeply regret is that because our family was so dysfunctional, everything was screwed up. I never did get the reason it was screwed up was that my parents wanted somebody in charge of us as we went to school and came back. In spite of all the prayers we did, the devotions we had, they still had to have a fall guy. That was yours truly. And I hated that. The first time I heard that we were all going to school together, I thought, yes, let's make it a happy day every day. No, it wasn't like that. They had to have a fall guy, and they said, because you're the oldest, and I thought, thanks a lot, you're going to be in charge. So I was, and that broke a real rift between my brothers and sisters and myself. I mean, I can still remember how I felt when Dad took me aside and said, we need somebody to be in charge among your brothers and sisters. Oh, I wish I had told him, well, Dad, you and Mom can alternate, taking us to school every other day. But I didn't. But I really do agree with that axiom that kids should not be given adult responsibility. Oh, I believe that so strongly. Yeah, that's a family tree that my sister Betsy made for us. I don't know how she did it, but she did it. Yeah, she's talented in that respect. Besides many other talents she's got.
She went far back. 1535.
Wow, that is a long way back. Yeah. This was outside of our home in Cotoni in Sapporo. Yeah, we had an assembly at school. It was the closest thing we got to a religious exercise, We had to be careful about that kind of stuff, but we had assemblies and we had guest speakers. And one of them happened to be the pilot, the Japanese pilot who led the attack on Pearl Harbor. And I was sitting on the edge of my seat listening to him because it was so awesome to hear him describe what he saw from his airplane. And they did a good job on our military. Holy cow.
What do you mean?
Well, if they did what they wanted to accomplish. They knocked our forces in Pearl Harbor out, and we had to come back real strong, which we did over months and years. And part of that coming back involved finding the atomic bomb and using it on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And yeah, I guess in that respect I'm kind of caught back in history.
Do you remember what it was like, I guess, around those areas in Japan? Or were you never really near them?
No, I've never near them. Yeah, Barbara and I have seen specials though on TV on the destruction there in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And I've always been amazed at it. If for no other reason, it reminds me how blessed I am to be living here. 3 hots and a cot, and a wife who loves me, a grandson who loves me even more. And yeah, that's why I like to go back to that grizzly stuff, the blood and guts type stuff. And the guillotine really has me fascinated. Oh, and then there's hung, drawn, and quartered, medieval type stuff. Oh, those guys were bad. Holy cow, they were bad. But I read it just to consider myself blessed.
But after you moved back to America from Japan, what did things look like?
Interstate system in America. Oh, I was amazed by that. Yeah. And the fact that at outdoor movies, I no longer see the Japanese print along the side of the screen, so that the Japanese could watch our movies and just read that stuff on the side of the screen and know what they were talking about. Yeah. What was your question again?
Just wondering what your life started to look like after you moved back to America, after you moved to America.
Yeah.
Like
I
high
was
school,
I was
college.
amazed, and one of the best things I think was our personal cars, because for 9 years we had used Japanese public buses to go to and from school, and then suddenly over here in the States we had school buses. And I felt so blessed by having school buses that would pick me up at a certain point, take me directly to school, you know, after picking up so many of the students, that I got to be pretty good friends with the bus driver. His name was Mr. Pollock. I still remember him today from my high school days. And he knew how to maintain discipline on that bus, too. But yeah, that was something that I really appreciated was the American bus system, and the fact that now the only sermons I hear from the pulpit are in English. No more Japanese sermons. Thank you very much, man.
You were in the military.
Yes. Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, back in 1970 for my basic, and Fort Gordon, Georgia for MP training, and I went to correctional school. They asked me whether I would rather work with dogs or with people. I don't want to work with dogs. My dad worked with people all his life. I told him I want to work with people. Well, I didn't know that it would really, actually involve what I call babysitting. Working in stockade, making sure that all my peers here, they were probably my age, behaved themselves. Didn't punch each other, didn't stab each other, conducted themselves like ordinary human beings. And I thought, man, this is a waste of time.
What branch?
Army. Come on, guys, just behave. Would you do your time here and get out? I couldn't understand that at all.
I'm assuming you weren't very liked on the base, though. I would assume most soldiers don't like MPs.
Oh, God. Well, yeah, as long as I was on duty patrolling, yeah. They didn't like, I don't think anybody likes being pulled over. But, I had babysat all my childhood. Babysat my brothers and sisters, you know. And now I found myself back to babysitting again, except I was babysitting my peers. So I did it. And I'm glad I did it because I got an honorable discharge after 26 years. I went to Iraq too, and two things bothered me about Iraq. Too much sand, and I didn't know who our enemy was. Because I remember the guy on our bus saying, hey, in Iraq, we're going to be going after terrorists. And I said, hey, that's fine. Who are the terrorists? And I said, do they have a sign across here or across the back saying, I am a terrorist? I didn't know who was that and who wasn't. So it reminded me of Vietnam. I never did get over to Vietnam. I got out and I got retired out on a medical, I think, because I couldn't remember anything. I still have trouble remembering things. Yeah.
What made you want to go in the military? Like, I guess in the beginning, like what started all of that?
I wanted to kill people. I didn't care who. I just wanted to kill people. And as far as I knew, the only legal way I could have done that was through the military. Join the army and kill whoever we're enemies with, you know. I had a very naive attitude toward war. Still do.
That's how they advertised it, though. Then, didn't it? That's how they kind of advertised it when you enlisted. It was,
oh yeah,
get your guns and
yeah,
follow us.
yeah. We want leaders of men. Yep. Oh, and they had these obstacle courses that were supposed to teach us how to lead people. You know, you get a certain situation, and you decide how your group is going to overcome the obstacle. Oh, I was bad at that. Oh, I was bad at that. So I was always glad when they picked somebody else to do it. Oh, and then we had the training for the gas, you know, where you go in the gas-filled tent, take your mask off, recite your name, Social Security, and something else, and then put your mask back on and walk out. Oh, my eyes were red. And I was crying, well, not crying, but tears were flowing down my cheek. Yeah.
Would you leave with rank-wise?
Sergeant, buck sergeant. Yeah, the little boy in me wanted people to salute me. So I wanted commission. I wanted a bar, you know. But I never got it. And in a way it's good because I didn't know how to lead people. I didn't know myself well enough to understand others. I still don't. But I'm in a very good place right now. My dad, my mom, Kathy, the one who's in heaven now. I think that's Tim, Betsy, Miriam, and Candy. I don't know who this guy is, but that's my brother. Thank you, Chuck. And that's a beautiful woman there.
I was really concerned when Michael proposed to me. I said, you know, I can't have any more kids. He said, that's great. I never wanted children. I said, but I've got 3. And he goes, yeah, but they're already raised and I don't have to change diapers and I can talk to them.
Yep.
But even with the babies, he's been a really good grandpa.
Thank you, honey.
So how'd you guys meet?
That's a whole story. Great story.
In the days before the internet, I was going to be in the hospital going through procedure, and my best friend said, well, since you're not going to be able to go out and party, she says, here. And she gave me a magazine called Friendship Express. And he had put an ad in Friendship Express. A lonely sailor in Japan would like to correspond with a single woman on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote him a letter. And about 2 weeks later, I got flowers. What? So he starts writing me and then starts calling me. And then one day I'm at work. This is about 1.5 years later. And the secretary in our department says, Barbara, you've got somebody waiting for you. And I said, who? She says, I don't know, but he's in a sailor uniform. He just showed up. Didn't you?
That was wonderful, honey.
Yeah, that was 1984.
Oh man, she always finds an easy way to do everything. And I have a tendency to find the hard way to do everything. Vietnam. I was only there when they brought Lieutenant Calley back. Did you guys hear about the My Lai massacre in Vietnam? No?
What is
Anyway. Huh?
What is it?
Oh, it was a massacre is what it was. And Lieutenant Calley told his men to open fire on everything, and they did. And they killed a lot of people, including the enemy. But when he got back here, he was court-martialed for it. It was a terrible conflict. I'm glad it's decades behind us. I believe that Trump is the Antichrist, and I don't know how long it's going to take him to do what the Bible says he's going to do, you know? Like making a pledge with Israel for something, and then break the treaty after 3.5 years, and then, I don't know, and then the rapture coming up. I don't know if the rapture is real or not. All those models in those magazines were beautiful, you know. Holy cow. Yeah, big, beautiful women magazine. I asked myself, how would you like to wake up to that every